Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Life on the Research Trail. I'm Ron Coddington, editor and publisher of Military Images magazine. I spent the morning getting ready for my first book talk for Gettysburg Faces, which is a brand new book. Came out in August, and I've got a number of speaking engagements lined up, and am now going through all of the stories and selecting specific individuals to talk about for those presentations. And my short list includes the soldier that's pictured here. It's a really, I think, one of the more interesting stories, part of the Gettysburg story you don't think about because he wasn't present at the battle, but he plays an important role before the battle. So let me set this up for you. Days before Gettysburg, as General Robert E. Lee and his army are moving through Pennsylvania, not too far from Gettysburg is the town of York. And York is the home for the military hospital, which has about 500 Union soldiers that were wounded at the battles of Second Bull Run, at Chancellorsville, and elsewhere during 1862 and early 1863. So what the man pictured here, his name is Albert Orion Cheney, and his path to becoming a hospital steward in York begins in an infantry regiment, the 5th New York Infantry. So Cheney is in the regiment, fights in some of the battles, and discovers that he wants to do more, take on a different role. So he becomes a hospital steward, and he's stationed in York, Pennsylvania. Flash forward to 1863 as the Confederate Army is moving through, and Cheney and the other hospital stewards and administrators are faced with a vexing problem. They have these 500 patients who looks like they're going to need to be evacuated. And so they take stock of who they have. There's about 400 patients that they determine are ambulatory. The other 100 are not. So Cheney and others organize these 400 ambulatory men into companies, and they give them some light drill. While this is going on, they're not really telling these wounded and sick men why they're doing this, but they're getting them organized and basically getting them ready to move at a moment's notice. So that day comes just a few days before Gettysburg, and Cheney and the other hospital stewards organize these men and move them out, march them out of harm's way, out of Robert E. Lee's oncoming army. So Cheney plays a significant role in evacuating these men from York. He plays a really important role of perhaps saving their lives because they might have become prisoners of war, or they might have become paroled because the Confederate Army didn't want to hold on to these 500 men who were not in the best of health. For whatever reason, I think it's fair to say that hospital steward Cheney helped save lives. So his story continues. After the battle, Cheney goes back to the hospital in York and helps take care of 2,000 wounded men who move from the Gettysburg battlefield to York before going on to different hospitals. So he plays a role in helping care for some of those 2,000 men. Now, Cheney is not content to stay in the hospital and in his role as hospital steward. So in 1864, he leaves York and leaves his position as a hospital steward to become an officer in a U.S. Colored Infantry Regiment, the 127th U.S. TI. So in this capacity, he fights in some of the battles the late war battles around Petersburg and Richmond, he actually fights on the morning of the day of the surrender at Appomattox. So Cheney ends the war at Appomattox, his last hostile actions. And here's a guy who has fought early on with the 5th New York. I should mention there are Duryei's Zouaves, if you're interested in the Zouave regiments. Becomes a hospital steward, is present before Gettysburg and during the aftermath, and then goes on to participate in the Petersburg-Richmond campaign with an infantry regiment of African-American soldiers. So he survives all this and goes on to live a long life, dying in 1911. So here's the story for you for today of Albert Orion Cheney of the 5th New York Infantry, the Hospital Steward Medical Corps, and the 127th U.S. Colored Infantry. I hope you enjoyed the story. We'll have more videos coming up. And until then, I wish you and yours happy trails. Take care. Bye.